So, all right. So, what is a slicer? Slicer is essentially an alternate way using which you can filter your data so that you can enable your report more dynamic. For example, this is my report and this is my slicer. And if I select any specific country in the slicer, it filters the data across all the visuals in this page specific to these two countries. So this is how you can apply filter on your visuals. Oh, sorry, not able to see my screen. Okay. So hope you can see my screen and I am audible to you all, right? So for example, this is a slicer. Just give me a second here. I used to forget every time this. And this is my slicer. Okay, it can be, see in this case, it is a horizontal orientation. If you want to change the orientation of your slicer, we can change it. That we will discuss it a little later. Don't worry. But what exactly slicer? So using this is a slicer. Using the slicer, you can filter your data in your visuals. In your you can filter all the data in your visuals so that you can enable the report more dynamic. Okay, it enables the users to sort and filter up, packed report and view only the information they want. I just want to see, let's say this report was developed by someone, they shared the report or they hosted this report on cloud. They published this report on cloud. I live in Albania and Angola. So we are doing, I'm a manager who is responsible for Albania and Angola. So I just select these two countries so that the visuals in this page will get refreshed with the data that are specific to these two countries because I'm responsible for only these two countries' sales. Why should I see other countries? Supposing if I want to see, let's you are living in Argentina and you want to view the sales in Argentina, or if you want to view the sales in Afghanistan, you can, with a single report, in a single report page, with the help of the slicer, you can view only the information that you want. Okay, so it is very user friendly and also it enables this report more dynamic. Right? It is not a static. For example, if you don't have this slicer, what will happen? You cannot enable the users to slice the data. Okay, so what will happen is, let's say you are giving all the countries. For example, I just go ahead and clear this one. I just clear this selection which I made it in this visual. And then so they can see all the countries' total sales by category. So in technology, all the countries put together, what is the sales? In furniture, this report may be useful to give an overview about my overall performance. As a CEO or C-level executive, for them it is fine. But each region manager or each country manager, if they wanted to see, or it's a specific vice president has been assigned to 2 or 3 countries, he's responsible for 3 countries. He wants to view only the country where he, for the countries which he manages, right? By making this. So in simple term, using slicer, you can make your report more dynamic. If you don't have the slicer, what will happen? So you will get just only the overview, right? So overall, all the countries put together, what is the total sales? If I wanted to know a specific country, no, that is not possible. Or if you see as a C-level executive, you are looking at United States and Australia and France, and you can see that Germany is not doing good. So why don't we select Germany, and Germany, we will take a look at what is the sales breakdown by category. If I want to see that, if you don't have a slicer, how you can see? He cannot see that. Again, he has to raise a request with the IT department, information technology department within their company, and they take some time to generate that report and give it to them. So there is a dependency here. If you have a slicer here, it is very user friendly. You can select whichever country you wanted it dynamically, and then you can see the data get refreshed in all the visuals right? You have something called sync slicer. You can create multiple pages, and with the help of sync slicer, whatever the selections that you make it in this page can get synced up with all the other pages. Okay, slicer is sitting on top of your canvas. This is my canvas. This slicer is also visual, like the clustered column chart and a donut chart and stacked bar chart. Slicer is also a visual. It sits on top of your the canvas, right? Canvas. This is your canvas. This is where we design the report, everything, right? So, right? Okay. So this one, the slicer is used to provide an easier and more convenient way to the end user to filter the visuals. So what are the advantage of Power BI slices? It is user friendly. It's pretty straightforward. Okay. And they are displayed on the uh, canvas. Report users can pick and choose whatever they want to see it in their visuals. And also you can sync the slices across the pages. Same slicer, you can sync it across multiple. Let's say in this report, you have 10 pages are there. You don't have to manually go and copy paste it to each and every page. Simply you have an option called sync slicer, using which we can simply replicate this slicer across the pages. And also you can sync up the selections, whatever you make it in a single page across the pages. And what are the drawbacks of a slicer? Power BI does not provide support for input fields. This is what we discussed in the last session. What do you mean by input fields? I hope all of you remember the column from examples, which is available as part of Power Query Editor. That is the only feature wherein you can input the fields. You remember, if I want to split the first name and last name, I need to go and I can leverage the column from examples. And also I've given another example. If you want to change the date format, for example, currently my date format is in month, date, year. If I want to have it in reverse, like year, month, date. If you want to change the format, you can use M language to change it. But instead, you can use column from examples, wherein if you type 2 or 3 values against the date column with the required format, the system can learn from the fields whatever we type. So in the column from examples, only we have the input field is there, but we don't have input field is available in slicer or any other visual. Okay, there is no support for drill down in the Power BI report. Yes, you cannot do drill down in the slicer. There is no provision for pinning a slicer to a dashboard. You can create a slicer in your report, but the same slicer you cannot pin it on a dashboard. So now the question is, what is the difference between the report and dashboard? So we can create a dashboard based on the visuals that are available in more than one report file. Okay, you can simply drag and drop the visuals from multiple reports and you can put it on a single dashboard. We will take a look at the difference in detail when I cover about Power BI cloud services. Okay, and the next disadvantage is you cannot use visual level filters in slices of Power BI. Visual level, what do you mean by visual level filter? For example, if I select Argentina, this one should, this selection should get, this filter should get applied to only one visual, not for all the visuals. That is not possible, right? Visual level filter is not possible. Okay, you can apply you can make a selection based on the selection, whatever you make it, it will get applied. Okay. But you cannot, apply this Argentina filter only to this visual. When you select Argentina, all the visuals in your report canvas will get updated, but I don't want that. I want the filter should get applied only to this. That is not possible. That is also another drawback of slicer, but there are some other options we can do it at present. Let's not get into that one. For the time being, I just go and make it list. sorry, not list, and I'll make it as a drop down. So drop down is another option in Slicer. Okay, and this saves a lot of space in your report canvas. Look here, when I selected the option drop down, how did I select that? This is my, or I'll do one thing. I just remove this one. We'll create a new slicer from the scratch. Look here, this is my slicer. If I click on it, it will get dragged here on the left side. And if I, let's say I just want to see the country here, when I drag and drop the country here, it's a text slicer, country. In this case, it is a text, country is a text. And here I can see all the country names that are available as part of the country column in my sales W04. So all the countries are available, very good. And this is my text slicer, okay. And here you can see the eraser kind of icon. For example, if I select Afghanistan, okay, and then later point in time, if I think of clearing this selection, you click on this eraser so that it will get unselected. So none of the values got selected here now. So using this icon, you can clear the selections, whatever you made it in your slicer. And the next thing is here the drop down option is available. You have the list and drop down options are available. The display type, okay, of the slicer. By default, it's a list. What you're seeing is a list. And when if you think no, it takes more, it's a bigger one. It takes more space. Click on drop down. Look here, drop down will show something like this. When you click on this drop down thing, right, it will show all the things here. And if you don't, let's say you selected everything, Algeria and Australia, more than one country, you can minimize it by just clicking on it. So those two countries, whatever you selected, the corresponding data gets updated or refreshed or refined in all the visuals in this page. But the challenge here is which country I selected it. If you want to see it, you need to just expand it and you need to go and see it again here. Okay. And this is one, maybe it's a drawback, but the other advantage of the drop down is it saves a lot of space in your report canvas. Look here, it requires only this much of space, though you have a lot of countries in this column, right, in this slicer. Okay, we have another option. Okay, here if you see the filters, right? So what are the filters and sliders, the slicers that is affecting this visual? You can see it. For example, if I select technology here, if I go and see here, it will not get affected because all the other visuals will get reflected. By default, the visuals in Power BI are interactive. For example, if I select technology, all the other visuals got highlighted. So when I see, I just selected technology in this visual, this technology column got highlighted, and also the corresponding charts in other visuals got highlighted. Look here, this one got highlighted, rest of them got dimmed. This is called cross highlighting. Cross highlighting is whatever the item that you select, that one will get highlighted, and the corresponding data that are in your other charts will also get highlighted, and rest of the values are dimmed. See, in this visual, though it highlighted the furniture column which I selected, it retains the non-relevant values also, relevant and non-relevant values. Okay. So, so this is one thing you need to keep in mind, what is cross highlighting. And we have something as cross filtering. We will discuss that one little later. That is what is happening when I select, for example, if I unselect, if I select Algeria and Hungary or Afghanistan, along with this, if I select this, Angola and Austria, if I select these countries, this is called cross filtering. All the visuals relevant to these countries display the values relevant to these these selections. It is refreshing this data, whereas if I select this one, right, so this one will get highlighted, and also it keeps both the relevant and non-relevant items, whereas cross filtering It does only it filters only the relevant items. It is not retaining the non-relevant items. That is what the difference between cross filtering and cross highlighting. Okay, so now we discussed about that. So by default, the visuals are interactive, but with the slicer, we can, we can make our report more dynamic. Okay, we can apply the filters. We can do cross filtering across all the visuals in a page, in a single page. So this is called your text slicer. And let me do one thing. Let us quickly go and explore this one, focus mode. This is focus mode we already discussed. I don't want to discuss. Anyhow, I'll explain you a little later. When I cover bookmark, you will understand. And you have another options like spotlight, show as a table, all these things. We already discussed about this in the previous session. So now we will see how we can format this text slicer. I just quickly go to this format your visual on the right side. I just click on it. When you expand this slicer settings, and here you have something like multi-select with control or command plus click is used on. And if I select this one off, what happens is, for example, if I simply go and select more than one item, it is pretty quick. By default, it is, okay, it is on multi-select with control. I need to toggle this off. Okay. So what happens is by default, if you want to select more than one country, for example, if you want to select one more country along with this, I need to hold the control key and then I need to select other countries. You need to, each time you need to hold the control key and do it. This is painful thing. It is not much user friendly. In that case, what you do is you can toggle this off so that you don't have to hold control key and simply go and select whichever country you needed. That's it. It will get filtered, right? So this is another option. So you need to go to the format and do it that way. And slicer settings, I just expand it. And that is the difference with single select and multi-select and show select all. Okay. And if I click on this one on, so it displays all the thing here, right? By default, it is off, right? Okay, it is off. And okay. Next one is the slicer header. And slicer header, you can specify country, whatever it may be. Okay. And you can change the font color and you can have the border also. If you want, you can have a border position, top or bottom, something like that. Okay. Background, you can give something like this. You can give something like this or leave it as it is, white. Okay. And if I go to general, and if you expand the properties, and if you scroll down a little bit here, position, you have something called horizontal and vertical thing. And just one thing here. Advanced options. One second, when I expand this, maintain layer order, responsive on off, title effects, background, visual border. Let me do one thing. Suddenly it is the new version. They made our life a little bit different. Border position, left to top, and the values. Okay, let me go to the list one. And look here, when you need to select the list, now I select a list, and you can see the visual orientation displayed as vertical and horizontal. The drop down, you cannot get the orientation option, only in the list. Look here, if I just show you a list or drop down, two different types of displaying your slicer options are available, right? The display option for your slicer is available, list or drop down. I selected list. The moment when I selected list, so here it was showing Yeah, 1 second. I need to select this one. I did not select this. So here you will find the orientation. Here I don't want the vertical and I just want to have the horizontal. Okay, if you want, you can select horizontal and you can expand it like this. And you can, so when we do a, we have a separate session for designing a report and all. Okay, so that time I will explain you. They said this one also saves a lot of space. Instead of going for drop down is not so helpful, because whatever the selections you make it again, you need to go back and see it here, right? In the drop down, but here you can see it up front. So I selected these 3 countries now. Likewise, you can see it here itself, right? And if you don't want this, if you want to unselect, you can clear the select. You can click on this eraser icon. The selections will get, and you can the scroll bar enabled on the right side. When you keep scroll it, and instead of scrolling it, you have something called in your scroll bar. In your mouse, you have scroll bar, right? You just use the scroll bar to scroll down in your in your keyboard, in your in your mouse, and if you select United States, it shows only United States related data. So likewise, you can use scroll bar in your mouse also to move to the next one, right? Next thing and all, next country, you can do it. Instead of clicking the scroll bar and keep clicking it, right? If you think this is painful, use your scroll bar in your mouse to move backward and forward. You can do it this way. You can make a selection. So with the slicer, the list option, you have the orientation. You can change the orientation from your vertical to horizontal, or if you want the vertical, you can make it like this, or if you wanted to make it more something different, right? You can do it like this. And next one is selection, the same thing. Okay, multi select with control is off, and okay, find slicer header, all those things you can do it. And general is something like you can change the height or width just by resizing it itself. You can change the height or width. Okay, and sometimes the height and width is very much helpful. And when you if you have multiple visuals, right, to not to have overlap, this is very much helpful. Okay, and then position, horizontal, advanced options, responsive, on or off. You give off, what is going to happen if you give this one? It is something like this, responsive. Okay, and it will not be much helpful anyhow. Maintain layer order. Okay, we will discuss the order also later. Okay, and effects, background on, and you can make it if the background on, and if you make it a little bit something like this, it will become kind of a rounded bar or something like that. Okay, a rounded rectangle. Okay, the edge of your thing will become a rounded rectangle. Anyhow, we will take a look at that one also a little later. Now you understood what is the text slicer and what are the options that are available. Display options, you have list and drop down option is available, and you can change the orientation in the case of list type of the slicer. Next one is the numeric range slicer. So the slicer is a visual, but there are 6 different types of slicers we can create it. That doesn't mean you need to have 6 so we are having 6 different visual itself available for slicer. Don't think that way. Slicer is a visual. It is available only one visual. See, this is the only one visual is available for slicer, but you can use different type. Okay, now I just select this slicer. So I'm going to have something like I want to select something like a year. Okay, and I just drag and drop year here. So look here, the moment when the year is a numeric column here. And but here, the moment when I dragged and dropped the numeric thing, right? So you can see that this one, the slider kind of thing. And if you click on the drop down, you have a lot of options. Okay, by default, it is between. And then here also you can use the list or drop down, you can use it. and between is the default one, and less than or equal to option is also available. Okay, and the greater than or equal to, less than or equal to, greater than or equal to option is available. So the right, so if you, when you select the greater than or equal to option, the right slide bar, right? So the slide bar handle, I'm talking about the circle kind of thing. The right slide bar handle disappears, right? So you then adjust, and then you need to adjust the lower value, right? So the only items with this one is right. The year, the only item with year greater than or equal to 2011, you can give it. Okay, for example, if you change it to 2012, so greater than or equal to 2012, display all the values that are greater than or equal to 2012. And you can unselect this one also, and you can go and select less than or equal to. When you select the less than or equal to, then the left side a slider, a bar handle disappears. This is less than or equal to. Okay. Here 2014, you can give 2012 less than or, which if you specify 2012, this is the upper value. Anything less than this, right? Less than or equal to this one you selected. It's pretty straightforward. Okay. And you can use the default one is this one. So with this, you can just move the slider backward and forward. You can make these selections. Look here, between 2012 to 13, you can choose the type of, you can choose the type, based on your, requirement. You can also recommend to the customers which one is, again, end of the day, it all depends on the users, the report users requirement only. If they say, no, this is not much helpful, then you need to change it to different thing, less than or equal to or greater than or equal to option, you can use it. So this is your numeric slicer. Next one is the date slicer. Okay, and you have something like this, and date slicer is something like, I'm going to click on the slicer visual, and the date slicer is something. Look here, I have a date column here. I just simply drag and drop it. So even for the date slicer, we can see the slider. By default, the slider is getting displayed. So just by moving this backward and forward, right, you can change the range of dates, so that based on the date range you selected here, the data will get refreshed. And here, if you let us go and see what are the other options are available. So you have something called the default one is between and before. You can give before, when you select before, it is something like less than or equal to, something like that. Okay. And you have after. So after is greater than or equal to. Okay. So the same as your numeric thing. And list, you have a list, and list is not the recommended option for your date slicer, because your date will go like anything. Okay. And if you want it, if you have less number of days, you can use list. Drop down, we have already explored it, and we have something called relative date range slicer, relative date range slicer. You can use this relative date slicer just like any other slicer. You can create a slicer visual for your report and then select a date for value for the field. Okay. For example, in this case, the advantage is days, last 1 days or last 1 week or 1 month, something like that. Okay. Years or calendar, last 1 year, something like that. Okay. You can use that one also. And the next option is relative time, relative date or relative. With the relative date and time, you can select which, last 1 day or next 1 day, this 1 day, something like that, you can do it. Okay. So these are the options that are available as part of all these type of visuals. Numeric range, already I discussed it. In the case of numeric, you can select with 3 options. So the between, less than or equal to, or greater than or equal to. Okay, and we have something on relative range slicers. Sorry, relative responsive resizable slicer. So this is what the responsive resizable slicer, you can resize it, okay, according to, for example, if you want to resize it, you can resize it. You don't want to make it, because if you think this one takes a lot of space, then you can do it this way. You can reduce the size. And right, so this is called this one. Responsive resizable slicer, and hierarchy also possible in a slicer. In the latest version, if you select here, and for example, if you want to have the category as a slicer, and then within that slicer, if you want to make it the segment, you can drag and drop it. Sorry, here it is different. Let me do one thing here. Okay, selected from sales W04. No, not in category. That's why I got confused, because different tables I'm taking now. So category and for example, segment, if I drag and drop it here, look here, now the hierarchy got created. So in slicer, hierarchy is possible. When you click on this one, in furniture, you can see 3 or 4 segments, because one is blank value is there. Sorry, you can expand this, and by expanding this, you can see all the segments that are available as part of each parent category. In this case, the category, right? For each category, three segments, it is available. So you can create a hierarchy slicer. So, okay, with this, you understood what is a text slicer, what is a numeric range slicer. With the numeric range slicer, we have seen between less than or equal to, greater than or equal to option is available. And we have relative date slicer is available option as per the date slicer. And as per the date slicer itself, we have some relative time slicers are available. And responsive resizable slices, we have seen it. So you like this, right? So you can resize these slicers, and hierarchy is possible with multiple fields in slices. Okay, that is pretty much about the slicers.